Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything. I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Albion Triumphant Black Powder campaign book. This is volume 2, the 100 Days campaign. And if you're familiar with the 100 Days campaign, that is the period after Napoleon escaped Elba and was back on the mainland, where Waterloo takes place, Quatre Bras. Half his army goes after the Prussians, the other half go after the British. And there's a lot of different scenarios that happen, a lot of different battles, but not a whole lot. Not so many battles like before not like his early period where he had thousands, basically hundreds of battles. There's only a few dozen maybe battles that took place in the 100 Days campaign. This is probably my favorite period of the Napoleonic period. There is the Peninsula as well. I really enjoy the Peninsula. I think that's good. I've got friends that like Austrians and the Russians and the Italian campaigns and things like that. That's not really my bag. So I got the Albion book, and there's another one called Albion Triumphant as well, and it's volume 1. Just being the Albion Triumphant tells you that the British are going to win. I mean, just based on the title. It's based on the Black Powder rules. And let's go into my review of this book. Let's talk about this a little bit. It's pretty thick. It's a thick campaign book. I don't know if you can kind of see how many pages that is, but it's like 133 pages of goodness, right? Color photos. It talks about the campaign that actually transpired. Okay, first of all. So, and I know it's upside down for you, but here we go. We got the Napoleonic warfare. Changes in warfare, because the start of the Napoleonic period till the end of the Napoleonic period, there was some technological changes that transpired because it did take place over a number of years. It talks about the structure of the armies. Talks about different formations that were actually adopted during this period. It gives you a map of the campaign battle area. It shows you the initial deployment of the British and the French and the Prussians. And then it goes into the battles themselves. There's Quatre Bras and Ligny. They both took place on the 16th of June. They talk about what actually was going through the commanders' in their brain and why these battles needed to be fought and things like that. And then they talk about the Battle of Waterloo, which was that was the defining moment, the defining battle in the 100 Days, right? That's where it all came to a close. And then there's the armies of the campaign, and it talks about Great Britain, and the British special rules, rifle rules, the ability for them to lie down, the 4-deep line, blah, blah, blah. Then it talks about the individual units that took place in the campaign, like the foot guards, the line infantry, the Highland infantry, which would be different, light infantry, riflemen. Okay, so lights are not always riflemen. And then you've got the cavalry, which weren't the greatest cavalry, but that's something to be decided later. But they also talk about life guards, royal guards, dragoons, light dragoons, hussars, their artillery, right? And then they start talking about the KGL, or the King's German Legion, and then their allies, because they don't consider the King's German Legion as allies. They consider it part of their actual army. The allies were like Hanover, Brunswick, Nassau. Well, that's Brunswick. That's Netherlands. Dutch. Nassau, here we are. I can't wait to do some Nassau figures, just FYI. I want to do some Nassau so bad. Okay. And then we go to France. You got to do France. France, the game's named Napoleon, whatever. Okay. Napoleonics, why would they call it? Okay. Sorry. Now, the French adopted some formations that only the French used, and so they're talking about them. And then they go to units like line infantry and light infantry, combined grenadiers, combined voltigeurs. Then they have cavalry special rules, carabiners, cuirassiers, dragoons, light cavalry, the Lancers. Then their artillery, you got foot and horse and guard probably. The old guard, middle guard, the young guard, right? And then the Marines, which I didn't know the Marines were in the Waterloo battle, but they might have been. I'm going to have to do some research on that. Then Imperial Guard cavalry and guard artillery. And then it talks about the army that showed up late, but not at Ligny. At Ligny, they were the ones there. You got Prussia, you know, formations that they used. Musketeers, Landwehr, you know, peasants. Jaegers, the Dragoons, the Uhlans, the Hussars, the Landwehr, their artillery. Okay, so basically those are the three main armies, right? The British Army and all their allies, the French Army, and the Prussian Army. Now they have some rules about column versus line and how that changed during the 100 Days battle. Engineering, if you're a points game and you want to spend points on the game, how you get higher ranked staff rating. They even have weather about rain and heavy rain. Not very much rules there. Soft ground, death of a commander. So they've added a few things in the game that aren't in the main rulebook. Now they actually talked about individual generals that might be in your games. Like, of course, Wellington, right? He has a few special abilities. And then General Alten, his special rules. Kempt, his special rules. Pack, his special rules. And then Prussia, they have Blucher. Gotta have Blucher. Zeiten. The Netherlands has the Prince of Orange. And Etienne de Gigny. I don't know who he is. He's a blacksmith? No, I don't know. He's in the Dutch army. Baron Chase. Yeah, he should be cavalry, if I remember right. And then France. Of course, you got Napoleon. Obviously. And his special rules. He has less special rules than Wellington. That's messed up. I thought he would have, like, the most special rules. Well, hello. He's got a staff rating of 10. That's the best you can get. And he's aggressive and decisive, so he's got those abilities. And he adds 3 dice to his combat attacks. And then you got Marshal Ney. Awesome. Kellerman. Of course, you got to have Kellerman. All right, and then they have some scenarios. One of them is Quatre Bras. This is the scenario that we are going to be running at NashCon. We might run it more than once. We might run it just depending on how many people would like to play the game. Okay, downside. Downside on this is it's a little confusing. When I read this, luckily I already know what happens in this battle. Luckily I know Quatre Bras like the back of my hand. And by reading what they have to say about Quatre Bras, I'm a little confused because it shows like this giant deployment zone, which is fine, and Picton's deployment zone is gigantic, you know, but Picton's not even in the game at the start. That's what I don't understand. He moves onto the table. And then Brunswick, enter on turn 4. It doesn't say where from or where at. And then the French deployment zone is super small. It doesn't really show, and they should have their deployment zones should be as big as that on this side, I would think. Because the French should have a ton of units on the table at one time. And then when you go through, they give every brigade commander their own rating, which I thought, you know, that it was just the overall commander-in-chief, and then you worked your way down from there. But they got every brigade commander as his own staff rating. That's cool. I don't mind that, because what I do is I print labels for my miniatures anyway, so I'll just put the little staff rating on there. It tells you what their objectives are, and their the British aims and objectives, the French aims and objectives, which totally okay with that. But it's just the whole deployment, and I feel that it is. I feel like they're being condescending in this one statement on this scenario, and I'm going to have to show you right here. Please see the attached map of the battlefield. Deployment areas are shown clearly. Well, they're not really. I understand this and this arrow over here, but based on what you said, the armies, when they enter the board and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with the deployments that you show on the map. You just have to, like turn 1, these are rivals, like Picton's division, Bachelou's division, Foy's division, Pyre's division. That's only Bachelou and Foy. And like on turn 5, it says additional to scenario, see page 91. You got Alton's division and Byland's brigade. And why does this say Byland's brigade deploys on the table when he's got... Yeah, it confuses me. I'm going to have to go back through my other scenario books and see exactly what they're trying to say. Or I might read how they played the battle and get an idea of what they're trying to say. Because that's what it talks. They don't say how the battle actually historically transpired, because you can find that information anywhere. What they say is how they played it and how they won or lost the battle, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a different take on it, because a lot of these books will say, well, this is what these armies did in this battle, and this is how it actually transpired. And you can compare your playthrough with reality, but reality's playthrough can be found anywhere, especially with today's internet. You could pretty much look up a battle and see who won. And then they have a battle of Hougoumont. Okay, because you're not going to want to be able to figure out how to play the entire Battle of Waterloo in a few hours. You wouldn't be able to do that, especially at 28 millimeter. And if you're trying to collect that kind of an army, it would be huge. It would cost you a fortune. Okay, so but the Battle of Hougoumont, you could make a model of Hougoumont. You could have guys attack it. This map is kind of small, and the number of units that are involved in this battle is actually less than Quatre Bras. We might be able to do a Quatre Bras scenario and a Hougoumont scenario later in the day. That might be fun. We're going to have to piece that together and figure it out. I haven't really looked at the Hougoumont, see if it's any historically accurate or not, but it's hard to kind of tell. It looks like it might be. Plancenoy or Plance not. No, it's Plancenoy, something like that. It is where the Prussians fought at Waterloo. Basically, it's a town way off to the side of the battlefield. And then that's all they give you. Right? They just give you those 3 scenarios. And you got Quatre Bras, Hougoumont, and Plancenoy. Now, what if you want the battle right there in the middle, La Haye Saint, or whatever it is, La Haye Saint. I think it's La Haye Saint right in the middle. There's actually a La Haye Saint box set that you can get, and I'm sure the scenario is in that box set. And it has the model of the building and the troops involved, or some of the troops involved. Okay, but now it also has army lists and pointed games. So it talks about the abilities of each of the units that you might have in your battles, so you can use these stats as opposed to trying to figure them out. And it also gives you their point values. So by giving you the point values, you can build an army if you want. Netherlands, like Household Brigades, Guard Brigades, KGL, Hanoverian Cavalry. Right. Then they give you a Brunswick Army list. That's pretty cool. Dutch, Belgians, and Nassau Army lists. That's cool. And then it gives you the French Army of the North, their army lists with points. Actually, their army lists here, those are the points. Like how many brigades and how many units you can have in your army. And that's based on a 1,000 point army. So if you have a 1,000 point army, you can have 0 to 1 cavalry brigade. It says 1 per 2 infantry brigades. A brigade. 0 to 2 heavy cavalry brigades. You know, it's basically, and then what's this? Oh, Imperial Guard. So you could just do an Imperial Guard army. Because, you know, the Imperial Guard and the line probably weren't fighting side by side. It was a guard attack, or it was a line infantry attack, or it was a cavalry attack. And then this is the Prussians, of course, where you can go and buy these figures. So, I have a mixed feeling about this book. I love the fact that it gives me point values, and it gives me the unit values, the historical, like why the battles were being take place, why what the unit commander's abilities are, unit special abilities, how they might differ from older books or what have you. I really like that. What I don't like is the scenarios are not well written, and there's only 3 of them. With a big, thick campaign book like this, I was really anticipating 5, 6, 7 campaign scenarios in here. There's 3. That is disappointing. But other than that, all the other information is great. All right, guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this Albion Triumphant Volume 2 book. In a future video, I will do my American War of Independence campaign book review, and come check that out. If you're at NashCon and you're watching us play, or if you're going to join our games, be sure to say that you've seen me on YouTube, and that really motivates me to do additional videos. All right, guys, if you have any other suggestions for me, or if you want to know anything specifically about black powder or anything like that, I do have a tutorial video series coming out real soon next week, and I'll see you then.